And it's basically, a southeasterly wind that kind of fires up some of those sea breeze storms that we often see during this time of year in Florida. The good news is it's coming out of the east. So most of that, even as we get into the evening hours, is going to be diminished. But even this early afternoon kind of time frame leading up to the launch, most of those will be set up farther inland, so across parts of central Florida and west of that. So that's the good news. When we specifically look at the launch window, 6:24 to 8:24 tonight, it looks pretty good. Honestly, 80% is what the NASA meteorologists are going for favorable conditions. And you can see why. We've got just a couple of clouds around, a light sea breeze, and temperatures into the 70s. So we're not going to break that temperature threshold by any means. The only thing that we would possibly look for today is going to be the cloud cover and those stronger winds at the surface levels. But it looks like we'll stay in check when it comes to the weather. If we have to push it to tomorrow, that's when our chances likely would be lower for launch when it comes to weather focus, because we've got more of these thunderstorms possible, and potentially if it gets pushed out to Friday, still some clouds around and some isolated showers. Guys, there is a long list of criteria that these meteorologists need to get through in order for us to get a launch go. And you can see the list is long, but today specifically, it's going to be those surface winds and the clouds that we'll keep a close eye on. But otherwise, everything else seems like it's pretty much in check.
That's a very important check.
Indeed, and we've got a couple of things that we're looking at right now, along with, of course, those NASA meteorologists. Here's the current lay of the land for Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center, where 39B launch pad is. We've got southeast winds just 2 miles per hour, temperatures hovering into those mid to upper 60s, and wind gusts coming in at about 5 miles per hour. Notice that we've got a couple of these little showers that we're tracking right now, and there is a potential to see some of those showers kind of centered across the state as we get into the middle part of our day. The good news is, once we get to the launch window of 6:24 p.m. to 8:24 p.m. tonight, it looks like most of that rain will have died down. We've got just a light sea breeze that we're looking at, anywhere from 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the east. Right now, NASA looking at mainly cloud conditions and some elevated wind speeds at the surface. Those are the two things they're kind of honing in on for tonight's launch. But as you heard Tom say, 80% favorable. This is actually pretty ideal for launch. Now, if it doesn't happen tonight and we look ahead to tomorrow, not quite as good when it comes to the weather. We've got thunderstorms possible for your day tomorrow, and really the cloudy conditions and the elevated winds will be there as well. So multiple other things that we'll have to watch for. If we look ahead to Friday, that next launch window, 8 to 10 p.m. on Friday, still the cloud cover, the isolated showers and storms. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything is a go for tonight. We'll keep an eye on that. We're also watching an area of some kind of really impactful weather and busy weather across parts of the Midwest, stretching to the Northeast. Late afternoon, we've got some of these stronger storms developing, and this kind of ramps up the potential for some severe storms centered across the middle of the country. There is an enhanced risk for places like Oklahoma City, so damaging hail, wind gusts, and a couple of tornadoes will be likely. And we're not done with our severe potential as we get through the day today. Instead, tomorrow, we're kind of looking at that intensifying storm across the upper Midwest. The snow, the freezing rain, and the potential for thunderstorms will all be there. And guys, it's going to be Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis that have to watch for the potential for some of those stronger storms with hail, wind gusts, and tornadoes on the table. Back over to you.
All right.
Which is right by the Cape, Savannah. So I am all in on this. I covered the previous Artemis kind of launch. So I'm going to be right there with everybody else tonight, hoping that this launch happens. The good news is weather is really cooperating. We know how fickle it can be, especially on the Space Coast. And it looks like, at least right now, we're seeing those winds kind of light, southeast 3 miles per hour, wind gusting up to 6 miles per hour. You can see a couple of these little tiny showers that we're tracking. Those are going to be around at least through the midday and maybe even into early afternoon. But it does look, by the time we get into that launch window, that most of that will be out of the picture, and we'll really just be looking at some scattered clouds, a light breeze, and temperatures around 70, maybe 70 to 75 degrees. Otherwise, if we're looking ahead to tomorrow or even Friday, it does look like we have kind of more of an active pattern setting up with some more rain chances and some more cloud cover. So those will be things that we'll have to watch if we get into the Thursday and Friday launch windows. But again, hopefully we can get through today and have that launch happening. Here's what, if you think it's stressful to be an engineer for NASA at this time when we're talking about launch, this is what weather meteorologists are really watching when it comes to the weather. We've got multiple things: lightning, clouds, precipitation, temperature, wind, and solar activity. All of that is really important when it comes to the launch criteria. So if we see any lightning 30 minutes after that, within a 12-mile radius, you cannot launch. So we'll get the do not go for that. Also, we can't go through cloud layers. If you didn't know, of course, this rocket has, millions of pounds of propellant on it. And so we don't want to be anywhere near lightning. So of course, Mother Nature's lightning is something we're trying to avoid. But on top of that, rockets, when they enter through these clouds, can potentially create their own lightning. So that's another thing that we're watching. And that's why we're really keeping a close eye on the cloud cover ahead of the launch. And then of course, precipitation, you can't go through any precipitation, or if the temperature exceeds 94.5 degrees, we'll keep an eye on that severe or even extreme solar activity. That's something that doesn't work. And those surface level winds. So it's the clouds and the surface level winds that specifically today, the meteorologists at NASA are going to be watching closely, but it looks like our weather is pretty favorable. Not so favorable if we switch gears and talk about what's going on across the Midwest and stretching into the Northeast. We've got rain. We've got another potential day of severe weather, but the severe shifts over really parts of the Central Plains. 8 million people at risk from Kansas City down to Sonora. We do have Wichita Falls and Oklahoma City in that enhanced risk. We're mainly going to be watching for the hail, the damaging winds, and those tornadoes, guys. So not so great of a forecast for folks across the middle of the country, but the launch looks pretty good.
It's good news.